A very warm and lovely welcome to Moments with Inonge, a platform dedicated to personal awareness and development. Well, I can see that a lot of people were actually waiting for us to go online, and I can see Pastor Sam is actually connected from Nangoma. Wow, everywhere you go, MTN. Thank you so much, Pastor Sam, for being tuned in, even when you're not in your comfort zone. Thank you so much for your dedication and commitment to Moments with Inonge. Thank you so much, Daddy. Please, guys, drop your comments. Let me know where you're watching from, and as well as like and share this broadcast. Like and share this broadcast, tag a friend to be part and parcel of this broadcast. You're welcome again to the leadership segment, and I am looking forward to today's topic. And our topic for discussion is understanding others. You know, we are all leaders to some extent and at different levels, but the role of the leader can only be successful when the leader understands the people that he or she is actually leading. So that is what we're going to be focusing in today's leadership segment. Remember, the theme for this month is understanding will establish me. Understanding will establish me. This is why in today's leadership segment, we're actually looking at understanding others. Like and share, tag somebody to be part and parcel of our segment. So my name is Inonge, a certified speaker, trainer, and coach with the John Maxwell team, certified by John to help you be intentional in both your private and professional life by working with purpose and having a solid plan. So on Moments with Inonge, we actually stand for and advocate for personal awareness and development. And just in case you are not too familiar with the schedule for Moments with Inonge live sessions, so we have every Sunday at 1 p.m. Central African time, the inspirational segment, and every Monday we have the financial literacy segment. And every Tuesday, we have the leadership segment at 7:45 p.m. Central African time, which is this segment that you're currently watching. And we also have a free 30 minutes coaching session, the history of your future. Please endeavor to book that session if you haven't already, though I know most of the people that are online have already booked for that session. We also offer one-on-one coaching as well as group coaching. And we also are running the practical table. And this time around, the practical table is going to be more exciting than it has been. You know, every week gets better. Every week we go deeper. Every week, you know, the sessions get well. But then this week that we're starting is going to be on another level, because apart from me and the Discover Coach Nana, we are actually going to be having a guest, that is Dumisani, the radical entrepreneur. So those that are working and also doing business, or those that are in full-time business, please endeavor to be part and parcel of the practical table. I'm sure in one of the posts on the page, you'll be able to tell how you can actually subscribe and be part and parcel of those that are the practical table. So without taking much of your time, I think we're going to go straight into the leadership segment, which we're discussing understanding others. And I will please ask you to drop your comments, drop your questions, and contributions as well. Drop those comments, questions, and contributions. Okay. Just give me a second. So you're welcome once again to the leadership segment. You're watching Moments with Inonge. Please like and share, drop those comments. Let me know where you're watching from, and tag somebody to be part and parcel. Tag somebody to be part and parcel. Okay, so We are discussing understanding others. That is our topic for discussion on tonight's leadership segment. We're discussing understanding others. You see, half of all the controversies and conflicts that arise among people are caused not by differences of opinion or an inability to agree, but their lack of understanding for one another. I'll read that quote again. Half of all the controversies and conflicts that arise among people are caused not by differences of opinion or an inability to agree, but their lack of understanding for one another. If understanding is such an asset, why don't more people practice it? Because from what I can see, it's like understanding is really an integral, part of people being able to get along. Because from what I can see from this court, what I'm observing is that it's not even that people don't get along because of their differences in opinion or in ability, but the major factor that is causing these conflicts, the controversies, is understanding. So now my question is, because it's very rare, and even at school, when I was in secondary school or even at college, I never undertook a course where they were talking about understanding. So if understanding is such an asset, why don't more people practice it? Why don't more people practice it? And so what we're going to be doing basically is we're going to be talking about some of the reasons why people don't practice understanding other people. And one of the reasons that they don't do this is fear. Most people fear. You see, neither despise or oppose what thou doest not understand. Many times when somebody does something, most of the times we despise what the other person has done, or we oppose what the other person, what stance they have taken, without really going into details to actually understand what it is that that person is actually going through. I don't know how many have gone through a situation where, from face value, you judge somebody and say, but Wujamuntu, what they did was just something else. What they did was just wrong. I can't believe they took such a stance. But when you sit down with that person and they begin to tell you, they begin to tell you what was actually going on, how they've been feeling, what they've been experiencing, then you sit back and say, you know what? I think your actions are justified. In fact, if it were me, I would do even worse. I don't know how many of you that are watching have found yourself in such an incident, because I mean this is a segment, and we keep it real. We keep it real all throughout. I mean, as you are leading people, there'll be certain actions that you do not agree with. There will be certain opinions that somebody is going to have that you do not agree with. So instead of despising or opposing what the other person is saying, I am urging and encouraging all leaders that are watching this segment to understand, neither despise or oppose what thou doest not understand. And usually you get to find that the reaction when you don't understand, it's usually fear. When you don't understand something, the reaction is usually fear. Say, for instance, you want to go into a business, and then you don't understand this business. You don't understand, the nitty gritties of the business. What will happen is that you automatically become, you become afraid. You be fearful even when you are about to, engage in that business, or even when you're talking to somebody. Say if you don't have a good relationship with that person, or you fear them because of things that maybe you have heard, usually it's very, very difficult, to have a relationship with those people, to talk with those people nicely, because we are fearful. And even when you're discussing with somebody you don't know, it's very difficult to, just speak your mind. Why? You are fearful about what the other person is going to think, how they're going to react. So usually when we don't understand something, what usually comes about is fear. Fear is also evident in our workplaces. When it comes to employees, reactions towards their leaders, when it comes to laborers, fear, they actually fear their managers. And middle managers also are intimidated by their senior managers, or both groups. Those are the laborers and the middle managers. You find that they'll actually be afraid of the executives. And then what happens is that this causes undue suspicion, it causes lack of communication, and it also, causes reduced productivity. Say, for instance, you fear your supervisor. You fear your supervisor. What is going to happen is that, there are certain transactions that will be going on, and you just be suspicious. You just be suspicious about them because you can't ask your supervisor what is going on, because you fear your supervisor. And you see, while those suspicions are going on, you keep getting engulfed in those suspicions instead of asking. And what this fear is doing is that it will cause a lack of communication. And then also fear, you see, when you don't understand somebody and you've got fear, it causes a lot of reduced productivity. And you see, when I come and talk about the reduced productivity, what I'm trying to express is a situation where maybe a junior has this idea, and then they fear telling their supervisor or their seniors at the place of work. You see, what is going to happen is that somebody who doesn't have the understanding of their superior, how their superior is going to react, how they're going to take, whatever it is that they're trying to say, you're going to realize that they are concerned that they'll be labeled as troublemakers. For instance, something is not going on well and somebody wants to pass their ideas, a better way in which to sort out that thing. You see, if you don't understand your superiors well, if you don't understand the culture of your workplace, what is going to happen is that, in as much as you're trying to, bring a solution to a certain problem, because of the lack of understanding of the way things operate at your place of work, or how your supervisor or senior manager is, you begin to say, if I try to fix that thing, I think they may label me as a troublemaker. Or if I try to, voice out what my opinion is, I may be labeled as a troublemaker. Also, something that happens is that the few workers won't like the ideas. It's like the fellow workers, when you're at a place of work and you've got a certain idea in a meeting, an idea that you really know with every fiber of your being that is going to, improve the operations, improve the way business is being conducted. Sometimes you find that because of not understanding your workers, your fellow workers, you find that you feel like, okay, maybe the other workers won't like the ideas. So as a result of that, you don't get to share those ideas that could actually increase productivity. And also something else that reduces productivity is when workers think they won't get credit if their ideas work. They think, oh, okay, if I share this idea with my superior, I won't get the credit out of it. What is going to happen is that my manager, my senior manager, or my supervisor, they're going to take all the credit. Sometimes they'll actually be afraid that the boss will be threatened by ideas. Some people are blessed with abundance of flowing ideas, good ideas, and then every time, because they do not understand others, they do not understand their boss, they do not understand, their work culture, their environment so well, they're going to, they'll be afraid that, if I share this idea, this is a very good idea, my boss will be frightened. They'll be frightened that my ideas are good and that I may take up their position. And also something else that happens, at the place of work, due to lack of understanding others, is that you think, okay, my ideas will be rejected. You see, when you don't understand another person, especially a person that you're working with, you know, you can just make assumptions to say, oh, okay, even if I share my ideas will actually be rejected. But if you look at all these things, if you look at all these things that happen concerning somebody that is lower and understanding somebody that is higher, on a higher level than them, you notice that the common thing about all this is fear. So fear does a lot, like we have seen. It causes undue suspicion, because you'll be suspicious, and it causes a lack of communication. It also causes reduced productivity. So fear is something that we should be on the lookout for. Fear is something that causes us not to understand, the other person. Because if all these things, you're concerned that you'll be labeled as a troublemaker. So if you've got that correction that you want to make, that you feel is going to better the transactions going on at work, if you don't actually share those transactions, then you won't know. You won't know whether it's true you'll be labeled as a troublemaker. You see, if you don't actually share that idea with others, with your fellow, with your fellow workers, what is going to happen is that you won't understand your fellow workers. You won't understand how they behave when there's a certain idea that has come to play. So, guys, no matter what, we need to please take note that as leaders, who are supposed to understand others, we should not give chance to fear. Because what fear is going to do is it's going to, build a wall between us and others. It's going to build a wall that would prevent growth. It's going to build a wall that is going to prevent us from moving forward. So any time that you're trying to, understand someone else, get rid of the fear. Get rid of the fear, especially in the place of work. Get rid of that fear to say, okay, maybe they won't buy my ideas. Try. If they don't buy your ideas, at least you had ideas. At least you brought up your ideas, to the table. So please, as we're trying to understand others as leaders, let us get fear, off the line. This also happens, in relationships. You find that if you fear expressing yourself, what is going to happen is that somebody else, because you're fearing to express yourself and you're harboring so much within you, your actions towards the other person start to be different. And then the other person starts to get suspicious. But then the thing is, there is nothing really to get suspicious about. It's just that you're harboring, certain things because you feel if you let them out, this person is going to react in a certain way. So in trying to understand others, and in trying to progress as leaders, and in trying to work with others, let's endeavor that we really get fear out of the way. And then another thing, that hinders us from understanding others is self-centeredness. Self-centeredness. When fear is not a stumbling block to understanding, self-centeredness often is. Say we take off the fear. We're no longer fearful. We say, okay, whatever it is, we're going to bring it to the table. Whatever it is, we're going to discuss. Some of the things that cause us not to understand others, if we're not fearful, it's self-centeredness. Why do I say self-centeredness? You see, there are two sides to every question as long as it doesn't concern us personally. When a situation comes, if it doesn't concern us, we're going to say there are two sides of the coin. But if it concerns us, we don't want to bring about the other side of the coin. But for as long as it's something that involves us, we won't want to question what is going on. Why? It is because everyone is not self-centered on purpose. It's just the nature of people to think of their own interests first. It's just the nature. And if you don't agree with me concerning me saying it's just the nature of people to just think of their own interests, try it with a kid. Try it with a 2-year-old. Place some toys and tell them to share with you. What you're going to realize is that they'll pick their favorite toys, or they'll pick whatever seems good and keep it to themselves before they can actually stretch for the extra or the other toys. So basically, from my own survey, this is my own opinion. I think everyone is not self-centered on purpose. It's just the nature of people to think of their own interests. And one way to overcome our natural self-centeredness is to try to see things from other people's perspective. Because we are self-centered naturally. I mean, the only way we can get over this self-centeredness is to try to see things from other people's perspective. And I like what somebody shared. They said, whenever I'm losing a chase, I constantly get up and stand behind my opponent and see the board from his side. Then I start to discover the stupid moves I have made because I see it from his point of view. This when I heard this, it really like caught my attention, and it really was something that was so practical and very powerful about seeing things from somebody else's perspective. Say for instance, you're playing a game of chess, so your opponent is on the other side and you're on the other side, and then you actually realize that you are losing. Many times we won't take up the responsibility to check where we are going wrong. We won't take the responsibility to look at ourselves. Most times we look at the other person to say, oh, there must be something that they're doing. There must be something they're doing. But it is very important, whenever we are going through something, to also, and with others, being leaders, when we're going through something with others, we also need to, see situations from the angles of others, from other people's perspective. Say, for instance, like in this chess game, somebody realizes that they're actually losing. So instead of just being on their side and seeing things from their angle, this person is telling us to say what he does is he would actually go behind the opponent and now look at the chess game from another angle. And then when he starts to look at it from another angle, this person will begin to see the stupid moves that they have been making because they are seeing it from a different point of view. So when we're trying to understand others, guys, let's try by all means to get self-centeredness away. We've done away with the fear. Let's also try to get self-centeredness away, because usually self-centeredness is what causes us to not understand others. It's because we just want to keep this certain picture. It's just because we just want to look at things in one way. But as leaders on this leadership segment, on the Moments with Inonge platform, when we're trying to understand others, because leadership, you cannot be a leader without others, without being surrounded by others. So anytime we're trying to understand others, let's take away the fear, and let's also take away this self-centeredness by actually seeing things from other people's perspective. And then another thing that would help us in understanding others is to, get rid of the failure to appreciate differences. One of the reasons why we don't understand others is the failure to appreciate differences. You see, what happens most of the times is that we are unique beings. We are unique beings. And usually we just want to see something from our point of view. We just want to see something from the way we think about it. I mean, the next logical step after leaving behind self-centeredness is learning to recognize and respect everyone else's unique quality. Instead of trying to cast others in your image, learn to appreciate their differences because variety makes for interesting dynamics between people. Say, for instance, I'm good at speaking, and then there's somebody else that comes on the team of Moments with Inonge, and they're not good at speaking. They are actually good at writing. You see, so instead of me not appreciating their qualities, their unique qualities of writing, I begin to put them down because when they're camera shy, when we've got a presentation, they can't come up and do the introduction, or they can't take a portion. So instead, I should be able to understand, to say, okay, you know what? This is a team and I'm working with others. And because this other person, this is not their strength, what is their strength? You see, if I begin to ask myself the question to say, okay, if this person, we don't share a common strength, then what is their strength? The moment I begin to ask what is their strength, I begin to appreciate their uniqueness. I begin to appreciate their quality. And when in a team you have people who are doing different things, for instance, if I'm good at speaking and I'm not good at composure, so what happens is that the person that's good at composure will come in and compose things in such a way that I'm able to pick them even as I speak. So you see, variety makes for interesting dynamics between people. So as leaders, let us not fail. Let us not fail to actually appreciate the differences of others. And another thing that we're going to look at is failure to acknowledge differences. So the one we were just looking at was failure to appreciate differences. And now we're going to look at failure to acknowledge differences. You see, as we learn more about people and get to know others well, we soon begin to realize that people have a lot in common. People have a lot in common. You see, as leaders, this is also something that we should not fail to recognize. We should not fail to recognize what we have in common with the people that surround us. Because, they say like and like attracts. That can be something that bonds you, with the people that surround you. What you have in common can actually bring you even more closer. And then what you have, which are your differences, they can actually strengthen the bond. Because if you're all strong in one area, believe you me, meaning you'll be vulnerable to other areas. But if one is strong in this area and weak in that area, and then another person comes on board, they are weak in the area that the other is strong, and strong in the area that the other is weak. What will happen is that the team becomes strong. But then when you fail to actually acknowledge, when you fail to acknowledge your differences, when you fail to acknowledge your differences, when you fail to acknowledge even the similarities, what will happen is that you find that you've got no bonding factor. So as leaders, it is very important that we actually acknowledge the fact that in trying to understand others, there are certain things that are going to be similar among us, while at the same time there are going to be certain things that are different among us. So just as I conclude today's leadership segment, one thing that is similar about us is we all have hopes and fears. We all have joys and sorrows. We all have victories as well as problems. So, as leaders, let's take interest, in the people that surround us, what their hopes are, what their fears are. Because just like you who's watching, you've got your hopes, you've got your fears. Even I too, even when I come before you and share the stuff that by the grace of God I have, the privilege to gain insight on. I equally have my hopes and my fears. I have my joys and my sorrows. I have my victories and my problems. So, one way that you can actually understand others is by knowing that we have things in common. And these are hopes, these are fears, joys and sorrows, and victories and problems. So, when somebody is always energized, when somebody is always positive, and that day they come around and they are not as energetic as they always are, as leaders, let's be able to pick it, to say, okay, today this person is not performing the way they actually always perform. So what is going on? We need to understand that just like we have our share of bad days, even the next person can have their share of bad days. So that was how we have concluded this of understanding others. I hope and trust that as leaders, we're going to put away the fear and actually speak with others in trying to understand them. And we're not going to get self-centered, and we're actually going to appreciate the differences and also acknowledge the differences. We should acknowledge that people are different even though we have things that actually hold us together. So that is what I had to share on understanding others as leaders. I hope and trust that at this point there are questions, contributions, comments, or something that you feel is important when it comes to understanding others that I have not yet shared. So even as I go to the comments, to the questions, the contributions, I hope and trust that you have joined the practical table at this point. I hope that you have enrolled for the practical table, which starts on Thursday. And this week is going to be very interesting because we have the radical entrepreneur Dumisani in our midst. So there's going to be Coach Nana, the Discover coach, all the way from South Africa. And there's going to be me, your coach, Inonge, and Dumisani, the radical entrepreneur. So, guys, any questions, any comments, any contributions? Any questions, comments, and contributions? Let me just go to the comments, the questions, and contributions. So we have a comment from Mwangala, and Mwangala says, "Good evening, my mentor." Good evening, Mwangala. How are you doing? I hope you're good. And we have a comment from Mulenga, and Mulenga says, "Connected." Mulenga, thank you so much for tuning into our leadership segment this evening. I hope and trust that you've been enlightened, even as we're sharing about understanding others. And we have a comment from Gloria, and Gloria says, "Good evening." Gloria, good evening. Thank you so, so much. And Gloria goes ahead and tags somebody. Gloria, thank you for tagging somebody to be part and parcel of tonight's leadership segment. We also have a comment from Anshal, and Anshal says, "Connected." Thank you so much, my dear. Thank you so much for connecting. Thank you so much for being part and parcel of our leadership segment. And we have a comment from our very own motivational speaker, Thomas Manda. And Thomas Manda says, "My favorite speaker." Well, the feeling is mutual because you two are one of my favorite speakers. Thank you so much for taking time off your busy schedule just to be part and parcel of the leadership segment. I am so, so encouraged. And we have a comment from Kenneth, and Kenneth says, "Blessings to my sister from Uganda." Kenneth, thank you so much. Thank you so much for being part and parcel of tonight's leadership segment. I hope and trust that Uganda is doing well. We need to catch up a little, Kenneth. We haven't had time to catch up, so I hope and trust that we can find time to do a little catch up. And we have a comment from Raphael Chanda, and Raphael says, "You are a gifted speaker." Thank you so much, Raphael. I'll take that as a compliment. And thank you for following. Thank you for liking, sharing, and thank you for also encouraging me, to continue with what I am doing. So, guys, those are the comments that we have. I don't know if there are any comments coming in concerning understanding others. Please drop your comments, your questions, and yeah, let's get discussing comments, questions. Even after this segment is done, there are a lot of people that tend to watch the segment after we've gone offline. Please feel free to drop your comments, because I do monitor the comments from time to time. And if you need me to get in touch with you concerning anything that I have shared, please do drop your comments or inbox me, and let's get chatting. So thank you very much, guys, for being part and parcel of our leadership segment. Please ensure that you are part of the inspirational segment this Sunday, 1 p.m. Central African time. And guys, please ensure that you actually enroll for the practical table. Book a seat at the practical table. Sometimes the way I come, I've got so much to share, but the time is so limited. But if we have, say, 1 week where we're discussing this understanding others, believe you me, at the practical table, we loosen up, and we talk more. You can ask your questions. You're free to ask your questions. You're free to share your experiences. So if you want to benefit more from having a moment with me, Inonge, I really encourage that you join the practical table. And also, not that when you're at the practical table, it's also an opportunity for you to network. It's also an opportunity for you to find people that are like-minded, because sometimes we have friends, but our friends, we don't really have things in common. But you see, every person that you find at the practical table is intentional about growth. Every person that is at the practical table, they're intentional about adding value to themselves. This is why they'll pay for the practical table, even if it doesn't cost more than the talk time that you use in a week, the airtime that you use in a week. But I think it's a very good platform for networking as well, in order for you to find people that are like-minded and to actually grow with people that are like-minded. Remember, your network is your net worth. So you never know who's seated at the practical table. You never know who might connect you to one or two things. So guys, that is how I call it a wrap on today's leadership segment. I hope that going forward, we're going to be leaders that understand others. I hope and trust that I am able to understand you and meet you at your point of need, and you too as well, especially at the practical table. So I thank you so much for tuning in. I thank you for spending time with me at this leadership segment, and see you on Sunday. And for those that are on the practical table, see you Thursday through to Wednesday. Love you guys.